Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of Women of Community Banking podcast. I have Monica with me. Hi Monica, how are you doing?
Good. How are you today?
Oh, not bad. After a swollen eye for 2 days, I would say today is a better day. I thought of jumping back and doing a couple of podcasts. So yeah, today is fun. It's a sunny day at New York, so nothing to complain, and I can't complain if I have Monica joining me for the podcast. This is amazing.
Oh, well, sending you well wishes on your recovery.
Thank you, Monica. Again, thank you for joining us. Everyone, who is Monica? Monica is an executive with OneAZ Credit Union. She is the vice president of brand and acquisition for OneAZ, one of the driving forces behind OneAZ's growth, leading partnerships. She's one of the pivotal roles, right? Apart from what she does at OneAZ, I want to give you a quick background or introduction who she is. Monica comes with close to more than 2 decades in marketing, right? Very similar backgrounds. She started from an agency. I did the same thing from at a consulting. Spent years in an agency before she decided to move to the client side, like all consultants do. So she moved to a medical imaging company for some time, post which she joined OneAZ. So she's in OneAZ, I think, Monica, if I'm not wrong, for a little more than almost 7 years over here, right? And according to her, this journey has been the best one, and it's amazing, right? So that's a quick, short introduction about Monica. Monica, if I have missed something, I apologize. And why don't you add something that I've missed?
That's great, Anurag. I do want to share that I am in the sunny state of Arizona and coming from Michigan. So go Michigan State Spartans for anyone who's watching for the playoffs and for March Madness. And just sharing that my journey has not been exactly what I was thinking of a straight path, but it's gone different ways. And really happy to be in the credit union space because there's so many things that I've learned over the past 7 years. And being able to collaborate with other credit unions has been, I think, what makes this job so special.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, having that community feeling, that community movement for all of us, that's what makes the entire difference. We've been marketers, I've been data scientists for ages, but getting this feeling, that connection, that what makes the entire story different. Monica, one starting question. It's more of a customary Anurag question now. I ask everyone, right? Is what keeps you going? Your role right now, it's a high intensity role, right? But still, you do amazing. So, what keeps you going?
I would say that what keeps me going is that I'm a really passionate person and I'm a driver. So for when I think of passion, it's like I have passion for life, my family, those that are close to me, friends, and then work. Work is a big important piece of my life. I'm here. I think I would say I spend sometimes more time here than I do, at home. But I also it's the community that I've been able to really find and being able to grow that network. It's been such a rewarding experience having being able to be in a community-led growth role that it's been really satisfying to be able to keep me going.
That's quite deep as an answer. Now, in terms of the journey, right? I mean, I mean, I shared brief 5,000 feet overview about your journey. Started with a marketing agency, then to healthcare imaging, now at credit unions. Very three different roles, right? So, do you want to talk about your journey so far?
Yes, definitely. I think like right after college, and I knew this, and I would say this from like a very young age. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in advertising and marketing. Growing up in the 80s, I was really drawn to like commercials. And so when I saw, and I bring this up because like Tony the Tiger, I think just still sticks to my head of like the Frosted Flakes. And so I always was like, Mom, I really want to get these Frosted Flakes, and like would also ask my parents as they went to the store to make sure that they always had, bought that, or maybe even brands that I saw. So I was always drawn to working in advertising. So when after I graduated from Michigan State, and this was at the time you could actually just mail out your resume and a letter and hopefully see if someone would call you back. And I got a call from Mindshare, which is now JWT, which Team Detroit, and they called me in for an interview. So I started there and faxing orders and see how technology has come a long way and changed. And this is before digital media was even a thing. And then when I moved to Arizona, being able to learn and wear multiple hats. So that really expanded from just TV buying to digital buying and being able to do event sponsorships, and experiential pieces. But then what I'd say the important piece of the journey was building connections along the way. And all the connections I made have really got me into different agencies and positions and really helped shape my career. And that's how I ended up at OneAZ. Shout out to Michael Eck if he's listening. He's CMO right now. And in Indiana Credit Union, he really helped. We were worked together at Restart Advertising, and he had told me about this position. So I feel like connections are so important in any journey or career that you have because it really can help you land somewhere that might not be expected.
Absolutely. I mean, what you touched upon is power of connections, power of knowing people, power of connectivity. So I attribute whatever I've done today or whatever I will do today in the next 10 years to people like you. Because I know people because of my network, right? And it's so important to share your journey. And you never know, right? I mean, who actually makes that phone call for you? You don't know that, right? And, if I were to, shout out or call a couple of people on in the podcast. You know, there's a funny story about Brain Amon. Brain Amon is the president of Jack Henry, right? So we reached out to Brain as Brain. We want you in the podcast. She came to the podcast, and you won't believe me that random one connection has changed my life. I reach out to Brain every month for mentorship. Literally, she mentors me just because she wants to mentor. And I've seen such a huge change that has happened 6 months before and now. I'm just thankful for the connections, for the network I have, right? So I just wanted to call out Brain and Brain, thank you for whatever you do for me.
Sounds like an amazing person. And I think that too, like when you mentioned having those connections, that you got to find your
Exactly.
community, and the community that helps support you and lift you up and give you that advice when you need it is so important and is so needed in career development.
Absolutely, Monica. I mean, I've seen enormous help out of it. What you found is very similar. Now, obviously, you got a quite illustrious career. I mean, from Mindshare to joining this credit union, that it has been a quite a shift that has happened from the agencies to the client side, right? So, do you want to share a few learnings, from your illustrious career that would, I think, come handy to my viewers because a lot of guests I've hosted on the podcast have had very similar backgrounds, transitioning from agency to the client side. I always value you guys a lot because you have actually walked the talk and not just talked, right? That's what I value you guys for. So, if you want to share a few learnings, it will be amazing.
Oh, definitely. I'd be happy to. So, the first learning I would say, and this sounds something that you probably hear all the time, but it really does matter, is that if there is, when you're going to any meeting or you're going to meet somebody new and there is a table and there's not enough seats at the table, don't take a back seat. Don't sit in the back. Don't stand. Make room. Ask someone to move over because you're just as important as the people that are there at the table to be able to have those conversations, which lead into my second point, which I would say always have your voice and make sure that your voice is heard because you are the one that's championing for yourself and being part of those conversations. You're invited to these meetings for a reason, and don't just be an observer. Yes, there are times that being an observer is really important, but you always should come up with some point that you have to say, whether it's throughout the meeting to at least share that you also belong there.
Yeah, that's very important, right? So that dovetails into the next section of the show is uh, talking about some experiences. Now, there are a lot of female leaders, aspiring female leaders, who aspire to become a VP, a CXO, a credit union, and obviously worlds are very different on the agency side versus the client side, right? But I want to share a few experiences for aspiring female leaders because a good viewership of this base are aspiring leaders who want to become like you, right? So it'll be great.
That'd be great. Yes, I would say that for like, and I shared this too about my journey, and I really think it's probably the number one piece that I would give to any advice is that the connections matter. And it also is like the way you treat people. So you be kind to those that are at the front desk and you're kind to those to the C suite, but everyone, you treat somebody the way you want to be treated. I've been in this business a long time, and you do work with some people that are probably not as nice or not as kind, and hard to work with. They're difficult. And when you're working with people that are having that authentic relationship, it just makes business so much easier. They also help champion you. They help you find jobs, connections, even too in your current career. They can help you come up with some amazing ideas and activations that you would never thought were made possible without that person to help. So connections matter. Secondly, I would say is mentorship. I think you had mentioned that too, Anurag, about how mentorship and having somebody help you out and really be able to give you some of those key advice and some of that you can lean on is something that everybody should have at whatever level you are. If you're starting out, you find somebody who can mentor you. You find those that are at the same level that can give advice. I have in Arizona, we have some really great networks that actually have mentorship as a key part of a community that I'm part of, and it's called Young and Empowered. And it's really been able to get that community of mentors and also mentees. And so I right now have two mentees that I work really closely with. And then when I look back at my life, my mom, and then also I have a few women here that I can just call at any point just to get some advice, or if you need somebody to cheer you on. I think that that's so important to find that in your life.
Well, absolutely right. And we can't emphasize more on or harp more on the fact of network and mentorship. Absolutely. So I think that's the key message of the show, right? Or don't, I would say, not fear, don't shy away from asking for help. Because unless you go and ask for help from your network or your mentors, they're as good as, sitting in the dark. They don't know that you need help or you need some connection to be made. It's absolutely. That's another thing which people struggle. Like, for example, people like me, right? I have a huge network of 500 people. But I at times shy away from asking people for help because I feel that should I ask this or should it look like too weird? So I don't do it at times, but it's a learning for me, right? I mean, what you talked about. So that's great. Uh, Monica, next question about your role, right? I mean, we spoke about this some time back that it focused on brand acquisition partnership, but still, if I ask you about from the horse's mouth, right? So, what is your current role at OneAZ?
My current role is the VP of Brand and Acquisition, but what that means is community-led partnership. So community-led growth is what I oversee for the department. We're structured currently as there's two VPs, one of brand and really the processes side, and my side is the community portion because our we're very lucky. Our credit union has a foundation, so that gives back to local nonprofits. And so every cent that our member swipes with a debit card goes back to the foundation, which we can go back and serve many nonprofits across the state of Arizona. And then the second piece of that is business development, because we're part of like growing. I mean, like every credit union, we want to grow our asset size. We want to be able to tie back what that looks like from the connections that we're making in the community. So it just makes sense that business development is part of the community. And I would say this is a big piece of what community means too, is that we're building our brand. So we want to make sure that when we're out there in the community, it's not just a logo, because if you see our logo, we're not representing that logo. We have to be in the community, being able to build those connections, shaking hands, but also connect with those members and non-members so that they know who OneAZ is and so they can pronounce our name. So that's always sometimes an internal joke that our credit union gets misspelled, but I also wanted to know that building brand so that you know how to pronounce it is a big piece of it.
Oh, absolutely, right? That's like table stakes. Now moving on to the next section. I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, Monica. I mean, you were gracious enough to give me 25 minutes at max, right? So I want to just move to the next section of the podcast. Is now I know that you love what you do, right? But still, so why do you do this? Because we often ask, or I often ask, that what is your current role? Let's talk about it more. But nowadays, I've also started adding a primer. Why this role? Why do you do it? And what keeps you motivated? Like I have like five whys because of which I do this role. So what are your whys?
I would say my whys is the community, because it's been the communities that our organization is surrounded by and that we have corporate partnerships with really matters. And what we've been doing is like as our mantra, and we're actually doing a new brand refresh coming up for our organization, is that we say we win as one. So that's not just saying it takes one person, but it's a collaboration across many partners to have a united front because we do better together when there's more of us. But you also have some amazing sponsorships and activations that come up with it. I mean, I could go into, which I know we're limited on time, but really sharing some of the great things that we've done. So I would say shout out to looking at OneAZ. If you go and look at our LinkedIn, you can see all of the amazing work we've done in programming that came up from community partnership discussions and brainstorms, and just having an idea and seeing it come to life and fruition has been really rewarding, and that keeps me up because I feel like that there's some unlimited possibilities that we can do together.
No, absolutely, I understand. That actually keeps you motivated, right? Uh, Now, dovetailing on to the next section about a holistic look of the movement, right? Let's ask you a question, one point blank question. That what are your 2 cents on the movement, right? I mean, we went to GAC a few days back. A lot of regulatory changes, a lot of multiple things happening across the board. We can name 100 of them. But what are your 2 cents on the movement, and where do you think we are headed to?
2 cents, I think the movement is still strong, and it's also to gather those credit unions together. One thing that I've learned in being in the credit union space is that credit unions are always willing to share and to pick up the phone and connect, or whether that's through email or through LinkedIn, to be able to learn from one another. And then also here in Arizona, we have a unique thing, which I would definitely encourage those that may be looking for, building upon the credit union movement. And so this is a plug for AZ Credit Union Week. So AZCU Week, it started 3 years ago, and it started with 4 credit unions. Now we're at 11. This was last year. We did 11 credit unions, and now we're at 15. So 15 credit unions are getting together monthly to collaborate and bring a week essentially for leading up to International Credit Union Day to share the movement for credit unions and spread the awareness. And it's been amazing to connect with all of these local credit unions. We cover the state from the central region all the way down to Tucson to come together and bring together pay it forward days where we're surprising members out in the community with free stuff, to going back and giving service day, which is what credit unions are all about, the community impact. And then lastly, having financial football. And we got to bring in some really big names last year with some partnerships with Visa and Valera that hopefully we're actually planning year 3 right now for October. So that's more to come. So that's something that just showing how 4 credit unions who had this idea that could come together and grow it to 15 in 3 years. That's what I wanted to say about the credit union movement. Credit unions love working with each other, and you can do this in your own state too. It just takes a simple conversation.
Then that means, Monica, I should interview all women leaders of AZ, right? You just start with introductions for me.
Oh, yeah, happy to give you. I've got friends with all of them, so I'll definitely share.
This is interesting. Now, one parting question, Monica, on this year, right? So, how do you think 2025 look like? Obviously, both of us are not economists, right? We cannot give a very detailed explanation to how the economy will revolve around, but still, with the rates coming down and with the regulations, right? The regulations looking forward to ease, in my 2 cents. I mean, regulations might ease in the next few months, but what do you think this year looks like? And do you have any specific inputs or advice for this year that you want to share with the audiences?
I would say, and I want to take this probably from like a company perspective, is that um, community outreach is so important. And if you're not doing it, to consider having that as a piece, because building the credit union movement and being able to share what credit unions do and what our strengths are is so important. And that 2025 is almost like a blank slate. We're still so early into it. I'd say that, almost finishing up quarter 1, that for Q2 and beyond, it's like making sure that you're sharing your brand and what you can do within your organization to be able to connect with new members is going to be key. And for us specifically, we have an acquisition that we're working on. So I think that there's just some like exciting times in having a new brand. And I know credit unions out there have also gone through this, or maybe going through a brand refresh. And I think it just keeps things alive and a little bit different so than what you were always used to be doing the same of.
Absolutely. Monica, this was a very good 20 minutes of power pack discussion. Uh, We would like to thank you again for being a part of the WCB podcast family, Monica. Again, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anurag. And I also want to shout too that with being the connections and, Anurag, they did reach out via LinkedIn. And I want to say that that's something that I have to call out because it's such a powerful tool and we use it from a branding standpoint. It builds your personal brand, but it also builds your company brand. So if you're not on LinkedIn or not involved, I definitely think that that's something to include as if you develop your career.
Oh yes, I've done almost 100 podcasts right now. Every single guest is from LinkedIn, by the way. Zero outside LinkedIn. So
Oh,
that's the
you're
way.
killing it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure chatting with you. And I hope your eye gets
Absolutely.
better.
Thank you. Okay, so the recording is done. This was great, Monica. This was really great. We had like very